with me, we have Jim Peacock, who is the founder and owner of peakcareers.com. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing great, Paul.
It's awesome to see you.
Hey, it's always good to see you, buddy.
Welcome to our first Google Hangout live interview for To Live For.
I'm glad I'm a part of it. I'm anxious to see how it works myself, as I do.
You
I do a lot of online work, so this will be great.
You are helping us break into some new territory. So for those folks who are listening right now, or for those folks that watch this interview a little bit later, we appreciate your patience as Jim and I venture through new technology. So Jim and I have known each other for a long time. I'm going to go with about 25 years.
Yeah. Wow.
We met, Jim hired me. He hired me as a guidance counselor at Gardner High School a long time ago. But we immediately clicked. We have a lot in common growing up or sharing different parts of the country in terms of living. And obviously our background as counselors. But Jim is also a father. He has 3 sons. He's a husband. He loves hockey. He plays hockey whenever he can. He's also a guitar player. That's a new passion. Couple years old, 2 or 3 years old.
No, probably 5 now, actually.
Time flies. But
Yes.
I was thinking it'd be kind of cool if he could play a little guitar at the end, but we'll have to see how the interview goes.
All right.
Jim's also a nature lover. Is it every summer that you head out west and you hike a portion of the Pacific Coast Trail?
It's not every summer, but we try to go as often as we can. I did go last April and hiked on the Pacific Crest Trail in the desert area outside of LA, and then it was probably 3 years before that. Probably 3 years before. So it's not every year, but we try to go as often as we can make it happen.
That's a beautiful way to enjoy the left side of our country, which is a beautiful part of our country. So Jim's been a career counselor, and I'm also calling you a career teacher, because not only do you provide counsel around career to individuals and groups, but you also teach other guidance counselors, other career counselors, and other professionals that are working in that career development field. And we'll get into that in a little bit, but over 25 years worth, right, sir?
Yes, yeah, that is true. I've been either doing conference presentations or teach career classes for career practitioners, and then I've also got online 4 and 5 week long online seminars or online classes that are for these same career practitioners. Yeah.
Yes, I did want to talk a little bit about your online, your website, which is peak-careers.com. And on it, you really do focus on what I would call four services, 4 broad services. So one is the online seminars. How does an online seminar work?
An online seminar is they're like mini online college classes in a sense that they're on a specific topic. Typically they're all career oriented. So using Twitter for career practitioners, or the happenstance theory and how to incorporate that into your practice, or understanding transitions through a couple different transition theorists and how that again applies to our career practice. So people log in each week. Sometimes there's a book, sometimes there's just articles. There's no set time people have to be in. Basically, the readings in each week open up on Saturday, and people read the article or the chapters in the book that we're reading, do the activities that might be suggested, and then the discussion begins. And so you're in there discussing with other career practitioners. These are career or life coaches, they're career counselors, they're academic advisors, anybody that's adult ed people, really anybody that's providing career information. And they get in and they're sharing it, and you get all these different perspectives And then, so that discussion goes on throughout that week. And then the next week we open up a new discussion or new activities. So there are a variety of different topics now and a number of different ways that we do it. But that's pretty much the model. And as far as I can tell, I'm the only place that's doing this quite this way, you know, where you're actually learning from me, but I'm really more of a facilitator, but you're also learning from other people who are in the field. And you can log in. You may find it more convenient to log in before you go to work, and then somebody else may do it at lunchtime, or somebody else may do it at night. It doesn't matter what time you log in. There's no live times. And now I actually have 3 other people, and soon to be 4 other people, delivering career topics that are not necessarily my expertise area. So that's broadened my the choices of the seminars out.
That's awesome. And one of the things that I mean, there's a lot of I like about what you just said. There's some flexibility. You can kind of move a little bit at your own pace, but you're also building community, because it's not just you that's providing a resource, but it's a community that's providing a resource for each other.
Absolutely, you know, and it's a different world that we live in, you know, where people are much more comfortable in this online community than ever before. When I first started, I think the happenstance theory, which is the first online seminar I created, that's probably, I offered that probably 6 years ago, now. And people didn't know what to do in it, you know, but now almost everybody has been in an online class or an online seminar of some sort.
That's awesome. So one of the other modes of your teaching is through training and consulting. And I know that you often get called to present at different universities, community colleges, professional development associations. Is that pretty accurate?
Yeah, and in general, it's probably the opposite order as far as where I spend most of my time. I do a lot of presentations and workshops for career development associations, a lot of state associations. I've recently been to Wisconsin Career Development Association, Rhode Island Career Development. I'm currently working with a number of other states to possibly go out and do like a day-long or a half-day-long workshop. And I've done lots with Maine Career Development. I've also done a lot with National Academic Advising Association. So it's really been more association work and sort of regional career professional groups. But I have done a number of colleges. I've done some things for the University of Maine system and Maine Adult Ed. I've done a lot with them. So really, yeah, it's a wide variety of workshops. And I love the workshops. The workshops, really, the online classes are great, but I just love the face-to-face. I love being able to see people when they get it, you know, where you take a topic that people are somewhat familiar with and then just make it more real. And I love the interaction of the live classes. So if I could do any one thing, it would be, that's the area I would blow up in my calendar. I would just go, give me more of this. You know, I can't wait.
It will come. Patience, right? We're learning how to be patient in this this world of working from home and being independent and working for ourselves. So I know,
and I did. I mean, one of the things. Sorry for interrupting, but one of the things that I did this past year is say that I picked 3 words that I want to sort of lead me in 2016, and one of them was focus. And I really said, you know, I'm going to focus on these workshops, and you know, I have, and when I focused on them, they grew, and I'm having a number of conversations now, and that's really how the whole Wisconsin thing came out. But like I said, I'm currently in discussion with probably 4 other states. So
awesome. So I know one of the programs that you offer, I think, you know, you started this before you launched peakcareers.com, and I think it's this program that maybe got you thinking about starting your own business and leaving the education institution field on a full-time basis. And that's your career development facilitator training. your CDF
Yeah,
training?
right, right. I mean, as a guidance counselor, what I found is I love the career side of everything, and I wasn't as thrilled about the more social counseling that went on, but I love the career stuff. So I just was looking for things like that all along, and I found and discovered this national certification, the Global Career Development Facilitator certification through National Career Development Association. There's a lot of words in that. That was a long sentence, but National Career Development Association created this CDF class, this Career Development Facilitator, and a certification that goes along with it. And I was just, as soon as I discovered it, I was like, this is really what I want to do, this kind of training. And so I went and was certified as an instructor, and I've offered it pretty much every year, at least once a year, since 2001. And that is indeed, once that happened, I sort of began to think about what do I call this? And I started calling it my Business Peak Careers Consulting. And it really grew out of that CDF class, and as I said, I've offered it every year in Maine. And actually this year I'm doing it in Maine, and I'm also been invited to come down to Boston to a university down there, and I'm training all their advisors in one of their departments.
So are you telling me that was 15 years ago?
Yeah, 2001.
Wow. That is crazy how fast time flies.
Oh, I know. So yeah,
Well,
we've got, I've had a couple hundred people easily at this point. I would say a couple hundred people that have taken the class, and most of whom go on for the cert. You have to have the class completed in order to go for the certification. And so I don't know exactly how many people actually hold the certification to this date, but people's lives change, their professions dance around, but we probably have close to 200 people that have completed the CDF class. Yeah.
So one of the things that we believe in at To Live For is that kind of the ripple effect, that if you send out positive vibes, someone catches them, they're going to send those positive vibes on to other people. So imagine, if you can, Jim, those 200 people that you've touched through your wonderful work with the CDF training, and then they're turning around and they're sharing that with their customers and their clients, and it just expands from there. And I just think that's exciting and warmly positive work.
Well, that was, sort of one of the underlying premises for me, was the challenge of how do I create the greatest good for the greatest number of people in this career field. I mean, when I was at Gardner High School, I would see, what we have. We had a few hundred. We probably had 300 or something like that people on our advisee list, and some were freshmen, some were seniors, and some came for career and some didn't. But I thought, if I really want to affect change and really help people find a career direction, which I think is a huge problem that a lot of kids have, is they don't have direction. So they're not staying in school because they don't know what they want to do, and they're so removed from the world of work, so many people. And I said, how can I create the greatest good for the greatest number of people? And that's when I decided that what I want to do is train career counselors, train career coaches, train these advisors, who are providing this information, so that the more students, more people, more adults would get good quality career information. And that's really been my underlying passion, is that you're right. Staying positive is one thing, but how do I affect change? You do have to stay positive. You do have to provide good information, and good training, but it all plays off of itself. There's no question about it.
I'm going to apologize to our audience. I have a drawer that keeps popping open, so every once in a while you hear this pop, and that's my drawer. But so, you just mentioned the word passion, and that your underlying passion is, what can you do to uplift as many people as possible? How important do you think passion is in terms of being in a career, an avocation that is your passion?
Well, I mean, it's for most people, it's critical. Now, and I will say this: there's a bunch of people that just want to go to work, and I respect that. And I think sometimes we get, there's a lot of books that are written to find your passion and all this. And I believe it. I absolutely do. But I said, we still got to remember that there are simply people that want to just go to work and then at the end of the day, go home. And their passion is to be with family. Their passion is to embrace some other things. So work is a way to get there. But for lots and lots of people, and this is really true, it's really interesting. I think this is really true with millennials and boomers, which is, people say they're so different. I think they're so much alike. I think millennials and boomers are really interested in finding passion. They're finding what do they really love to do. The boomers are doing it. Some people have done jobs that they were not passionate about. And now they're at a time in their life where they're looking ahead and going, man, I got another 25 years. I have a whole nother adult lifetime ahead of me. And I might have been in the computer IT world, and I just did that for a job. Now I want to do the stuff I really want to do. And so when they find that passion, I was working with a boomer, about a year ago or so, and he is an IT guy, but what he really wants to do is go up to Baxter State Park and lead mushroom trips and sort of embrace mycology and teach people how to, embrace the outdoors, but also find food. Millennials are looking for this passion so that they can, because work has to mean something to them. And so passion's an interesting thing. I mean, I think for me, once I found what my passion is, it made my job much easier. I think there's a bit of a misnomer about what that is. I think people don't necessarily, in some cases, don't need to find their passion first and then the job. Sometimes you find the job and then you become passionate about it. And
yeah, that makes sense.
Because you think about job descriptions, like when I left Kennebec Valley Community College, 50% of my job description was wrong. When I was first hired. Why is that? That's because my passions started coming out, and I said, this is what I want to do. And people recognize, oh, you really want to do more career classes. You really want to teach this career decision-making class. You really want to do these things. And so as I took on the challenges of that new job, a lot of my passions evolved. And I think that can happen. Mike Rowe does, he's got I think it's a TED Talk, Mike Rowe from Dirty Jobs. He talks about passions, and he says, there's a lot of people they're out there, on a pig farm, and they're, who would have said I want to own a pig farm and create bioenergy from it? And he's saying that guy didn't go in and saying that's what I want, but he started this business, which was a dirty job. It looks like a dirty job, and found that he was really passionate about it and creating bioenergy from pig waste.
Yeah, that's cool.
So passion is really interesting. I really do indeed work with people to help them find that passion and get closer to it. That's really a lot of the work that I do. But it can come out in different ways. So that's a long answer to a short question, but it's a very interesting topic to me.
So one of the themes of some of your email or newsletters and some of your videos that I've been exposed to talk about happenstance and intentional serendipity. And I don't know if those are the same or not. But can you talk a little bit about those? Because I think they tie into a little bit about what our work is about. And that's about being open. And I'm going to leave just that as it is, open, because I think that can mean so many things to each of us. But
yeah,
again, happenstance and intentional serendipity.
Well, happenstance is actually a career theory that was developed by Krumboltz, Levin, and Mitchell. And it really was about the fact that a lot of people, their career path was not linear. Their people's career paths are all over the place. You discover things by accident, and that's built on the premise that, well, if you talk to people, particular people, with college degrees, I mean, their skill level in a lot of different areas is sort of broad. It's broader than most of them think. And so what happens is opportunities come up. I was a forestry major and got involved with student activities on campus, and suddenly I was introduced to the director of student activities world and college student services. I mean, that's happenstance. Those are actions that I took. And so happenstance was the first career theory that I sort of went, that one makes sense. I mean, they all make sense to some level. I mean, but most of the other career theories that were out there were very linear. And what I've just found is, for most people, it's chance plays a huge deal in it. So I started using intentional serendipity in my work, because what I think has to happen is people, and it's all based in happenstance learning theory, but the intentional part is people need to be intentional and say, I'm going to go do this. I'm going to go do an informational interview, or I'm going to go volunteer in this place to learn more about it, or I'm going to go, just try this in a part-time job, or whatever. People need to take action in order for opportunity to show up. But they also need to be really open to serendipity. And I think that's really the difference. Open to the possibility that what you're looking for may not actually be what you'll end up doing. Right. And, it's these people that these you see these, well, I work part-time at Colby College here in Waterville, Maine, in the Career Center. And so there's students that in high school said, I'm going to be a lawyer. I'm going to be a lawyer. I'm going to be a lawyer. And so they go to college and they're going, I'm going to be a lawyer. I'm going to be a lawyer. And then they get to college and they're like, I don't really want to be a lawyer, but they've told so many people that they're going to be a lawyer that they can't break from it. And those people really struggle with it. And what they really need to do is embrace intentional serendipity. They really need to be able to say, all right, if lawyer's not it, what else do I want to do? What else is out there? And be open to change. I mean, it's really about, it's being open to change. And it's also another big piece of my philosophy is that you have to trust your instincts. I think for 100 years, we've kind of pushed instincts out of our picture, at least in North America. And we figured that mechanical things can fix anything, or the computer has the answer. If I take an assessment, I'll find out the answer. And where I work with a lot of people is really, you got to trust your instincts and be open to change, being open to seeing and discovering something by accident.
So that actually ties into another question I had, and I think that's amazing work that you're doing there and teaching people to be open. But I did wonder if you could come up with 2 or 3, I call it nuggets of wisdom for someone that might feel stuck in their career or stuck on their path, and they're just not quite sure what to do. Do you, from a career counseling perspective or from a personal perspective, you got some wisdom there?
Well, I would say that the things that I work on most with clients is, first off, getting their head out of picking a specific job. They come to me wanting to pick a new job, and the first thing I do is try to get their head out of that mode. What they really need to think about is, what are the skills that they bring to the table? What is their value added? And so I use a lot of I use less and less formal assessments now in my practice, and I use more informal assessments like card sorts. So I have a deck of skills cards. There's a deck of cards with skills on them, and it's one of the first things I do with most of my clients. I'm working with a young man in Florida right now, and he took an online version, and I'm really trying to get his head out of what does the job look like, and what I really want him to do is get his head into what are the skills that he has that he wants to use, that he's good at, and then go out and start looking for work. And because he needs to be really clear about what are the skills. So for me, the first nugget and the first thing I do with most clients is really focus on skills. What are your skills, and how do you come up with your sort of value added statement? You know, I'm really good at blank, blank, and blank, and I'm passionate about making a difference or whatever, blank. And then sometimes for some people, it's what industry do they want to work in? You know, so this young man in Florida is really looking at probably staying in the health field, but really kind of going a slightly different direction. So that's probably the first nugget. The second, one of the other things that I guess I would recommend is that you really have to, you got to get out there and take action. You got to be that, you got to do that intentional stuff. So after you get your value added statement, I really think you got to go out and start talking to people and start saying, this is who I am. This is what I'm skilled at. What from your perspective, what do you think is out there for me? And really begin to, you can't do it on the phone. You can't do it online. You can't do it through a text message. Nobody gets hired from a text message or a resume. It's all personal. You need a resume. You need if you're in a professional field, you need a LinkedIn profile. But those are ancillary to the whole thing. You got to get out and talk to people and tell them what you're passionate about. Tell them what your skills are. Tell them that you're value added, you know. And then, I don't know, I guess trust in your hunches. I mean, people come to me say, oh, I'm undecided. I don't know what I want to do. And I say, no, you're not. You're not undecided. And they're like, what? I'm like, you could tell me what you don't want to do right now, can't you? You can tell me you don't want to be an accountant, Paul. I know you don't want to be an accountant. And
that's correct.
That is correct. And in most cases, I could tell in a very short conversation what people don't want to do. They're, you know, and so and it's true. Most people, almost everybody I've ever met says, I can tell you what I don't want to do. Well, if you know what you don't want to do, if you're really clear about what you don't want to do, at some level, you know what you want to do. And that's trusting your instincts. That's listening to that little voice. That's testing the waters. That's playing games of hot and, you know, you're getting it's hot and cold, warm, warm, cool, warm, hot and cold, hot and cold. It's a game of where you test it. You got to test those theories, and you got to go out there, again, intentionally take action. But I think trusting your instincts would be my other nugget, I would say.
That's awesome. I appreciate those three pieces of nugget, because I do think some of our audience, we all get to parts of our journey where we feel stuck, and I think that's really good wisdom to listen to. You know, it's interesting. I just did a little bit of a job search for a part-time job, and I've gotten to a point in my life where I told the interviewer, I said, here's what I'm good at, and I can do some other things for your company, but really what's going to help your company is if you let me do what I'm really good at and what I'm passionate about. And lo and behold, at the end of the whole hiring process, I'm doing just that. I get to work for that company in a way that I'm going to best serve them and myself. But it's taken me a long time to learn how to advocate for myself.
Well, and you know, when people are hiring, they often don't know what they're hiring for. you know, and when you can articulate your skills, you know, they can either go, oh, this is a good fit, or man, this isn't really exactly what we were hiring for, but this thing would really take our company to a new level. But you've got to be clear about what it is that you can do, and what your strengths are and your passions are, for sure.
Right.
That's great, Paul.
My friend, we could go on and on. My last few interviews have been with folks like you, where we could do a week-long interview series. You have so much to share. You have a lot of wisdom. You have a lot of experience. I'm going to encourage our audience to go to peak-careers.com to learn a lot more about Jim. And it's on his website where you can sign up for any sorts of career guidance, advisement, or training. Jim, we are grateful for your time. We're grateful for your willingness to learn how to do this interview electronically, remotely for the first time for To Live For. And we wish you well. And we have a lot of blessings
Thank
because
you.
of people
And
like you.
thank you. Your audience might be interested, if they go to the website, they might be interested in reading some of the career blogs. If they're not career practitioners, that would probably be the area. If you want to learn about some more of my philosophy and just hints on and tips on how to do some things, they might look at the career blog that I have on the website. But thank you very much, Paul.
You are most welcome.
All right.